Well, first off, it's a pleasure actually getting to speak. I'm a big fan of your work, so definitely very impressed with all the stuff you've been doing, buddy.
Thanks. It's a continual 10 years now that I really haven't stopped.
So you've been in that industry. You've been in the industry for 10 years now. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm kind of isolated in this region, and I don't really hang out with people in the industry, but I just do my own thing, and obviously it grew to much bigger size than I ever expected it to.
Right. Well, let's briefly, if you don't mind, I'd like to rather start this interview asking about, I heard that you recently crashed your Bugatti, is that correct?
Well, that's what people love to imagine and dream about, because unfortunately, I hate to say it, but people I don't know what it is, but, whatever sprouts people love or gets them, there's a situation where people, when they see you doing well, they hope for the worst. So, obviously, I crashed my Bugatti, I slid into a tire wall, the side was damaged, the clear bra cleaned up most of it. If you saw enough of the pictures afterwards, after I took the clear bra off, it was pretty decent. But I had to do damage control. Everybody was spreading that nonsense like wildfire. There's still repairs. There's at least $50,000 in damage, to a aluminum surface on the door, and a side light is damaged, and one of my wheels is too scratched to be buffed out. So, and the side view mirror it's cracked.
But you came out okay, right?
Yeah, of course. It was. I don't know if you've ever done any stuff on the track, but you're sliding into a corner, but after giving a gazillion people rides on that track, the tires are pretty much worn out, the brakes are overheated, so I slid and kind of scraped the tire wall. So if I had crashed, I wouldn't have been able to drive it off.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, I do a lot of this stuff all the time, but this is the first time I've actually had an incident per se. Unfortunate, but I really did push that car to its limit.
Well, congratulations for even owning a Bugatti. I know it's a pretty big accomplishment.
I guess this gets annoying when I hear crashed, that's all. So.
Right. No, I understand fully. But you came from the Lamborghini era, right?
Sure. I had a Lamborghini for a while. The situation with Lambos is that I've come to really respect the McLarens and the Bugattis because of the build quality and just the way they treat their customers. Lamborghini, on the other hand, things start falling apart. There's always issues. The last car I got was the Aventador, and it started having all kinds of problems, like fuel leak, oil leak, electrical problems, door jams, spoiler jam, and so it ended up becoming a lemon.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, did you have the first, lemon Aventador?
Yeah, pretty much, at least officially.
Well, that must be a pretty decent problem to have, I guess, out of all the problems people could have.
For sure, as long as you get your money back, it's all okay, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And at least now you're playing with the Bugatti, and that's been a pretty satisfying experience?
Yeah, the Bugatti is truly the dream car. It was like the final destination. I thought to myself, if I ever get that car, then I'm done. I don't need a boat, I don't need a private jet, but that to me is I'm a car person, so yeah, and it's far more than meets the eye. As an owner, as a driver, you really get to see what it's all about beyond that horsepower and top speed. The things it can do that you would never know until you experience the car. It's quite incredible.
Right. So, real briefly, let's start talking a little bit about how you started FTV. That was something that I love the concept. I think it kind of brought back softcore, and it's truly, I think, great. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got started or why you even decided to start in that industry?
Well, long ago, I went into dental school, and that was the main destination, really. But before then, I was doing a lot of photo shoots. It was more fashion shoot stuff, and then at the same time I was living in Hawaii. It was like my part-time job, just doing photography, and that was always a hobby. But long story short, in dental school, I met this girl who I ended up kind of getting kinky with and started doing videos of her just doing public nudity stuff. It was just something for fun. I actually worked at a full lab during the time I was in dental school. And so I picked up the camera that you could rent out, but back then it was a VHS camera. And I started doing some stuff for fun, and she introduced me to another friend, and so on. And it just kind of became like a chain reaction where I started shooting some of these girls just for fun. And yeah, these VHS videos I don't even have anymore. They're lost in time. But back then it gave me the idea of maybe starting something like a site. But going through dental school and being broke and having other loans and so on, I didn't have the time or money to do something like that. So when I graduated, I decided about 2 years into doing dentistry, I have enough capital that I generated to actually start a site. And the inspiration really was that there are sites out there that were doing really well, but specifically they were very weak on video. And back then in 2002, the video was something that people wanted more on demand. And since it didn't exist, it sort of helped me kind of shoot up in popularity, along with just the way things are shot. But yeah, video was the key at the time, and higher quality too.
So you ultimately were a dentist before you started FTV, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Still am. I just don't work for pay.
So you still practice dentistry today?
Yeah, just finished a dental. You have to continue the e-courses, and so I had one just 2 days ago, and then I have a CPR certification tomorrow, and you have to renew your license every 3 years. I just volunteer at a local hospital, just and once in a blue moon, just to keep the skills up, and that's good enough. So.
Okay, very cool. So let's talk a little bit about the growth of FTV. I know at the beginning you said that you did this as a hobby and you turned it into, I guess, a business when you saw the need for video, and it was becoming popular in a sense, and that format was, you kind of stayed ahead of the curve with that format. How do you launch an adult website in such a saturated market, though? There had to be other people doing video already, and I mean, were you not competing?
You know what it was? There's another problem. I get a lot of people from, especially from some of the articles I've been on already, or just people seeing my success. They'll say, hey, I want to start a website. It's great. It seems like the adult market is a lucrative market and so on, and I think I'll make money too. Whether you be a broken real estate agent or whatever. But back in the good old days, yeah, it was pretty easy to start. But now it's not so easy with all the stolen content. The reality is that you need to have the ability. I had the ability to do the webmastering, the shooting, the editing, the customer service, staying good with the models so you don't creep them out, whatever. And so there's no cooks in the kitchen. It's just me. I have no employees. I have no webmasters. I don't have anybody working for me. You understand? I don't have anybody to pay. So it's a smaller cost base. So I may make a lot of money, but there are companies out there that make a whole lot more money than I do. It's just that they have 50 employees, and there might be 3 owners, so when you divvy out the net income, there isn't that much left. But, how to start? Well, you know what? There were, again, a lot of companies doing video to start, but reality was there was no real good niche in that solo market. People that were doing stuff was mostly the boy-girl or the bang-bus type stuff was becoming very popular at the time. But I thought I'd take girls in a different line instead of disrespecting them, showing them a more classier life. And there's always a niche for that. So at the time, there wasn't anything like that. So I stood out.
Right. So today, though, there is plenty of stuff like that. There's Med Art, and there's a bunch of other, like Alston.
Yeah. Well, see, Med Art at a time, Med Art existed way before I did. Med Art was one of the big founders. But the thing is the Med Art was all about photos. Videos came in later, and when they have videos, even to this day, when you see Med Art videos, it just shows a girl kind of posing, and there's music in the background, and then she's posing, and she's robotic, and then she's posing, and then she's stripping, and then she's posing, and she's stripping. And people fall asleep at that. If I shut that stuff, my members would have a revolution. So the idea is that you want to get people to see what they really want to see. The fetishes, covering on public nudity, having real orgasms, have them talk, bring out their personality. American girls tend to have a lot more personality than Eastern European girls just because Eastern European girls can't speak English, and they've been trained to become like robots where just come here, do this solo shoot, masturbate.